What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship. Today, at the request of AAA 1E2R3, we're heading back to the core deities. Today, we're talking about Nethys, as well as his Herald, the Arcanotheign. If you have any requests for this series or any other series this channel's putting out, as always, throw them in the comments below and we'll get right on them. Before we get down to business though, we've got to shout out yet another new patron. Today, this episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship was brought to you in part by Dragon9 Hide. Thank you so much for your time and support, my friend. It means the world. Now let's get to it. So, across all of Earth's history, we've had several gods across several pantheons that have been associated with magic. Really, pretty much every god in ancient history, in some way, shape, or form, is tied to magic, in and of the fact that Hephaestus would make lightning bolts for Zeus to throw. Sounds magical to me. Poseidon controls the seas. Again, magical. It's all just, explaining away the sciences that we didn't understand back then. In Pathfinder, we have science. If you want an airship, you've got it. If you want a firearm, by all means, maybe consult with your GM first. But magic stands right alongside these things as its own defined and clear entity, and that's where Nethys comes in. Ancient Assyrian legends speak of a god king named Nethys, a man whose maniacal pursuit of magic opened up the fabric of reality, revealing to him the secrets of creation both in this world and in the great beyond. This knowledge catapulted the God King to godhood, but at the same time it tore apart his sanity, creating two minds in one body. Present day, his fractured mind seeks both to cleanse the world through its destruction and to guard and heal it. Nethys is a god of two warring personalities, prone to sudden and unexpected mood swings. He teaches that the use of magic for its own sake is the highest calling of mortals, for it's only through magic that one can change reality itself. Nethys doesn't care about the kind of magic involved, be it divine, be it arcane, be it psychic, or the reasons that people turn to magic, only that they honor it and exalt in its gifts. He represents all magic, from the most benign healing spells to the vilest necromancy, and really everything in between. Other gods are known to take parental roles towards their churches, but Nethys acts more like a volatile but dispassionate guardian of an estate. Nethys doesn't care about his individual heirs, aka his individual worshippers, as long as the vast legacy of the family or magic continues. Other deities have tried to stabilize or cure Nethys' shattered mind and violent mood swings, but he inevitably perceives any progress as a depletion of his energy and negates their efforts. His allies have learned to tolerate his ever-changing nature, keeping him at arm's length for the sake of his knowledge. And those allies are many. Nethys is approachable by all deities for aid in their ventures. He stays neutral in the affairs of the gods for the most part, unless his power of omnipresent knowledge reveal that he's being threatened or betrayed. But other than that, he doesn't care. He loves allying with those requiring the use of magic for whatever nefarious or benevolent cause they might happen to need magic for. Nethys is true neutral. His domains are destruction, knowledge, magic, protection, and rune, with the subdomains Eon, Arcane, Catastrophe, Defense, Divine, Education, Knowledge, Rights, Solitude, Thought, and Wards. His favorite weapon is the quarterstaff, and his symbol, a two-toned black and white mask. Nethys' deific obedience requires us to inscribe blessings to Nethys, arcane formula, and lines of prayer on a blank parchment. Don't inscribe a complete spell, only notations sufficient to potentially spur our reader to study magic in an effort to complete the incantation. At the culmination of your obedience, cast any spell or spell-like ability, or activate a spell completion or spell trigger magic item. In return, you gain a +4 sacred or profane bonus on concentration checks. This bonus depends on your alignment, and if you're neither good nor evil, you must choose sacred or profane. Once you've chosen, the bonus can't be changed. We've seen this a million times before. Nethys' evangelist boons will allow us to cast Mage Armor thrice a day, Mirror Image twice a day, or once a day Fly. At 16th level, you can use Arcane Eye 3 times per day as a spell-like ability. The Arcane Eye you summon functions as if you had cast Arcane Sight and were able to view information through the Arcane Eye. This allows you to see magical auras through the arcane eye and potentially identify the schools of magic involved. You can also potentially determine the spellcasting or spell-like abilities of viewed creatures as noted in the spell description. At 20th level, you can manifest an illusory robe that absorbs hostile spells for a number of rounds per day equal to 1 + 1 for every 4 hit dice you possess, a maximum of 6 rounds. These rounds don't need to be consecutive, and you can activate or deactivate this robe as a free action. The robe functions as a lesser globe of invulnerability, except that it only excludes hostile spell effects of 3rd level or lower. Any spell that would force you to attempt a saving throw, cause you to take hit point damage, negative levels, ability drain, or ability damage, or end your life, is considered hostile for the purposes of the effect. Unlike a lesser globe of invulnerability, you can move normally while cloaked in these robes. Not bad. Exalted boons grant us Magic Aura thrice a day, Misdirection twice a day, or once a day Arcane Sight. At 16th level, you can deliver touch spells with a casting time of 1 standard action or longer through a quarterstaff. Using this ability doesn't change the casting time or other qualities of the spell, but you must make a melee attack with your quarterstaff against the target's AC rather than a touch attack against its touch AC. If you hit the target, you'll deal quarterstaff damage as well as discharge the spell effect. You can hold this charge as normal when delivering a touch spell through a quarterstaff, so at 16th level you become a magus even if you're not a magus as long as you use a quarterstaff. Sure, I'll take it. At 20th level you radiate an aura of the pure essence of magic. You can use this ability a number of rounds per day equal to 1 + 1 for every 4 hit dice you possess, again a maximum of 6 rounds. These rounds don't need to be consecutive, and you can activate and deactivate your aura as a free action. I'm seeing a theme here. You and any allies within 20 feet of you increase your caster levels by 1d4. Roll the die when you activate this ability and use the same value for all who gain this benefit. The increase affects spell qualities such as duration and number of targets that rely on caster level, as well as caster level checks made to overcome spell resistance. The bonus caster levels don't grant higher level spells or cause the recipients to learn new spells, but if we're all 20th level and we're still not breaking spell resistance, just get within 20 feet of the guy who worships Nethys and here's a free +4 to your caster level. We'll get there. Nethys' exalted boons aren't bad, and this is the only tree of boons that doesn't require us to dip the Sentinel or Evangelist prestige class to gain access to, so that's even better. And if your Blood Rager gets it into his head that he'd like to wield a quarterstaff, now he can be a magus without having to dip magus and cast Shocking Grasp when he hits with his quarterstaff and his gigantic strength score. Here's hoping the poor quarterstaff survives the impact. Sentinel boons grant us Magic Weapon thrice a day, Arrow Eruption twice a day, or once a day, Keen Edge. At 16th level, you have attuned yourself to the essence within magic weapons and can conjure up that same aura within any weapon you hold. Any weapon attacks you make are considered magic for the purposes of overcoming damage reduction regardless of the composition or special qualities, or lack thereof, of any weapon you hold. At 20th level, a complex arcane sigil manifests on your skin. The location of this sigil varies by individual, but it always appears in a place easily displayed. Most commonly, this sigil represents a third eye. While this sigil remains uncovered, you gain a deflection bonus to your AC equal to 1 + 1 for every 4 hit dice you possess, maximum +6. You lose the deflection bonus if the sigil becomes obscured, but it returns once the sigil is made visible once again. So at 20th level, we don't have to worry about a Ring of Protection +5 because we'll have a magical third eye of protection +6, but really the rest of the stuff is all kind of just eh. By 16th level, if I haven't got a magic weapon, I'm either playing a very low magic game, or somebody is stealing all of my gold. Really, if I was to worship Nethys and I was to take one of these, I would take the Exalted Path, and again, it would be on something like a Blood Rager or a Druid, perhaps even one of the Psychic classes, smack you with a quarterstaff, and deliver a touch spell. Now, like we said at the beginning of this, AAA1, E2, R3 would like us to discuss Nethys' Herald. All of the core deities, truly all of the deities, have heralds in Pathfinder, these powerful outsiders that enter the material plane to enact their god's will. In Pathfinder's Inner Sea Gods, where we're taking all of our Nethys information, the heralds of the core deities are all CR 15. Real quick, let's take a look at the Arcanathane. The Arcanathane is a cloud of swirling energy which flickers like lightning with raw, magical power playing across its form. Again, it's a CR 15 medium outsider. It has a fly speed, it has a bunch of at-will abilities, resistances and stuff. We won't necessarily dive into that, but we will talk about its special abilities. The first one is known as corporeal form. As an immediate action, the Herald can take physical form, losing its incorporeal special quality and subtype, and its deflection bonus to AC, but gaining a strength score of 20, with its normal strength score being hyphen, and a natural armor bonus, equal to its incorporeal deflection bonus. The Arcanathane is capable of firing off Eldritch Blasts. It is capable of choosing an additional effect for its Eldritch Blasts each round, with a DC 26 save to negate. The save depends on what it does. A creature that fails its save against both blast in the same round suffers an increased effect. The Arcanathane can either dement you, which is a will save, causing you to be confused for 1 minute. If you get hit twice, the increased effect is that you go insane as per Insanity. The Fort save variant, known as Displace, teleports a creature as per Dimension Door 5 feet in a random horizontal direction at the end of their turn each round for the next 10 rounds. The increased effect affects the creature it targets as per Maze, and the Reflex variant, Ignite, says that the creature takes 2d6 points of fire damage, with the increased effect again if you get hit twice, and these things do resolve against your touch, you catch on fire. Arcanathane can channel energy, a DC 26 will save for half, to deal 2d6 points of acid, cold, electricity, or fire damage to each creature in its aura. A creature struck by its incorporeal touch attack also takes this damage with no save. Now some of those don't sound exactly overpowering or overwhelming, but I will say, although I always say we won't talk about the spell-like ability section of these guys, it's worth noting that the Arcanathane can cast Harm, Heal, Limited Wish, and Plane Shift. If nothing else, you've got something that attacks with incorporeal touches, doing 46 points of damage plus 2d6 of some kind of element, and it could easily make a mid to high level game boss in a lower point buy setting, or even something your follower of Nethys could summon to help them in the cause of defending magic across the world. Now, I have had a very unique pleasure with Nethys. I've never GM'd for a worshipper of Nethys per se, but I have GM'd for a player, my wife actually, who played Nethys himself, stripped of his god power and reincarnated as a mortal. We chose to use the Samsarin for the race. Honestly, we probably would have chosen a Shabti if we knew Shabti existed back then, because Nethys is Osirian. If you'd like to learn more about the Shabti, you can watch the 5th video this channel ever put out. The first episode of the Forgotten Race review does in fact cover the Shabti. Check it out, follow this card right up here. And it was definitely a blast to GM for. I could sit here for 45 minutes talking about all the fun we had explaining the story of that campaign. I'll spare you guys the gory details because you've heard some of them in the Doomsday Dawn giveaway video. We'll talk more about that at the end. But I will say that Pathfinder does use the ancient Egyptian pantheon, of course they call it the ancient Osirian pantheon, in their universe, and one of those gods is named Nethys. We did play a little bit with the idea of gods dying and being reincarnated, Nethys actually being Nethys, a whole big convoluted, eventually great old one kind of thing. It was definitely a lot of fun, and of all the gods who could be stripped of their god powers and put down into mortal status to have to fight their way back up to godhood again, Nethys is a fun one to do it with. Nethys didn't obtain his godhood through the test of the Starstone like Iomedae. No, Nethys became a god because Nethys became very, very powerful, which is pretty much the mantra of all player characters, right? So followers of Nethys in your world pretty much just love magic. Magic, 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 that is their thing. Magic in Pathfinder takes many forms, be it arcane casters, divine casters, psychic casters, even just the guy who's making magic weapons. It stands to reason that they would worship Nethys to help them in their craft. I think followers of Nethys can become a little single-minded as well, because magic is all that they're about. They don't really care about what it's used for in an adventuring party. They don't necessarily care if we're raising the dead to sack a town or using positive energy to kill some dead that are sacking a town. Again, it's all about that one point, the proliferation of magic. One thing I did see on a forum, though, that I did find interesting, somebody asked a long time ago if it was okay for a druid to worship Nethys, and personally, I say yeah, by all means. Nethys doesn't necessarily care about nature, but druids cast magic spells. They are divine casters, and as such, it falls to reason that it might not be like Gazra or Erastil or any of the other nature gods, but it still falls within Nethys' portfolio and definitely Nethys' alignment. Your druid is probably a little less turn into a bear and eat the bad guys, a little more casting plant growth to use their magic to feed an entire population, or casting defoliate as a grand exaltation of their power, perhaps going up against fellow druids who don't believe your druid of Nethys is following the creed. But I think it totally works, and I think that's a very unique character, so I definitely sign off on it. But what do you guys think about Nethys? Have you ever used Nethys in your campaigns? Have you ever worshipped Nethys as a character? Or have you ever taken a god from any universe, Pathfinders or otherwise, brought them back down to mortal status, and ran a campaign, or over the course of a campaign you played in, had to fight your way back up to godhood? Don't forget, guys, on the subject of Nethys and Ancient Osirion, our Doomsday Dawn giveaway is live right now. We're sitting at $107 a month on Patreon right now. We're so close to our $150 benchmark. If we can get there, if we can hold there, I'll run you and 5 of your fellow subscribers through the Doomsday Dawn adventure for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the first ever published piece of 2nd Edition content, where probably a lot of Ancient Osirian stuff and maybe even some Nethys stuff will be in play. If you'd like to learn more about that giveaway, follow this card right up here. And for all of you out there who are still hooked on Pathfinder 1st Edition, we'll be celebrating the end of Pathfinder 1st Edition with a tournament. That's right, I need 16 of your strongest, most optimized, most broken Drow Nobles and Troxes and all those other crazy high RP races to compete in a little bit of Bloodsport to again celebrate the end of 10 years with a wonderful role-playing game. If you'd like to learn more about that giveaway, follow this card right here. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Like I said on Monday, henceforth, our patrons' request will jump to the front of the request line. So with that in mind, our next episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship, we'll talk about the big guy himself, Eridan, and it drops next Wednesday.